From the Fans Talk Podcast family at fanstalkpodcast.com, this is episode 35 of Fans Talk TNA. This week, we're going to cover the June 24th, 2015 episode of Impact Wrestling on Destination America, as well as preview this Sunday's Slammiversary. My name is Garvin, and with us as always is Nick. Say hello, Nick.
It's time.
Oh, I thought you were going to continue. Okay.
No.
If you enjoy this episode and you want to hear more from us, about us, head on over to fanstalktna.com. If you really like this episode though, and you want to support the show, you want to see this series continue, head on over to our Patreon account. It's patreon.com/fanstalk. Drop a few dollars our way. Every little bit will help. Definitely support the show, and also spread the word. That'd be great too. All right, so let's talk about what happened on this week's Impact Wrestling. I think the first major story that I want to cover, at least before we get to the big things that everyone on the internet's talking about, is the fact that we now have a new X Division champion. That is Tigre Uno. He defeated both Loki and Grado, or Grado, depending on who's saying it. What do you think? What did you think about the match? Are you glad that Tigre Uno got this nod?
Absolutely. I think he's a great wrestler. And yeah, I think that's good enough for an X Division champion, at least for your first run. I'm not really disappointed that anybody else is overlooked. Like we've said before, Grado's just too new. Low key, he doesn't really need it. And out of everybody else in the X Division, I think Tigre Uno's been overlooked to this point, and I think he's definitely deserving.
Yeah, I'm with you, dude. I really think that out of these three, Tigre Uno was the only one that really made sense because, there was that potential for something new. A new guy in there that really hadn't been given a chance yet, finally giving that spotlight. So now we're going to really be able to see what he can do, especially as champion. And really, this is something that TNA keeps saying that they're going to give us is a new X Division or a new focus on the X Division. And I think putting it on a guy who can solely focus on the X Division, unlike a Rockstar Spud or unlike a Loki, who were involved in a few different things. I think this is, there's only positives that can be taken out of this.
Completely.
So yeah, I'm really stoked. Not as stoked about the green title though. I don't know what you think about it. Do you like the green coloring?
I don't really care for it, not as much as I like the previous color scheme. If certain rumors on the internet have any bearing to them, it might make sense. But, yeah, just on the face of it, it doesn't look that great.
Yeah, I'm avoiding reading the internet, especially when it comes to TNA. There's just so much negative attitudes right now about what TNA is doing, and, the future is always in question. So I don't know. I don't know what you're referring to, but, regardless, face value, I don't know if I like the green. I kind of like the red. I didn't really like the blue so much, but the green, just doesn't do it for me. But whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just the title that shouldn't be the main focus of criticisms about the division or, praising about the division. It should be the action that we're getting, and, having the title on a guy like Tigre Uno who does deliver good matches, I think is good for the division. So, all right, moving on from that, some low and mid-card feuds that we've got going on right now. We had EY defeating Chris Melendez cleanly and quickly, mind you. We also saw, the BDC introduce a new member, in Hernandez, and Hernandez basically helped BDC take out the Rising. So this Rising versus BDC story is continuing. And I think this is leading to something at Slammiversary, if I'm not mistaken. And then also in the Bram side of things, Bram versus TNA's history, we had the return, again, only for one night, but we had the return of Vader, which I think got a lot of people excited just because it's been so long since we've seen Vader and he looked pretty good. But also the return, hopefully for longer, of Matt Morgan. Out of those 3 or 4 different line items I just listed, Nick, what has you most excited about your mid and low card feuds?
I'm most excited about Matt Morgan, specifically the potential for him to be around for a little while, because me and Joe talked about this a little bit on the Fans Talk Pro Wrestling show, but I've been figuring that there's eventually going to be a serious opponent down the line for Bram that he'll go back and forth with for a while. And I was expecting it to the angle to go a little bit longer than this before that happened, but Matt Morgan is just such a perfect guy for that role. And I never would have thought of it in a million years, because when he retired, it sounded like he was done. Just because his son had been born and he wanted to make that his top priority for what seemed like for good.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, it really felt like he left TNA on bad terms. That was during the whole TNA versus WWE lawsuit stuff, where it seemed like WWE was trying to cherry pick some of the top talent from TNA. Matt Morgan was included in that list at the time. So yeah, it did seem like there was some bad blood. And also, yeah, you're right. He retired. So this is like the last guy you would think that would make a return. But if it's for real, if it's like, a long-term thing, and a long-term thing, a year or half a year or however TNA does their deals, I think that'll be good. It'll be good for, the fans. I think Matt Morgan, really proved his worth the last couple of years that he was in TNA. For some reason, he never got that opportunity to really show himself, or at least an opportunity to fulfill a full story. He had that thing going on with Joey Ryan right before he left the company. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, like, that was like his last chance to really shine, and a lot of us walked away with a sour taste in our mouth, because we wanted TNA to really push this guy, and they didn't for whatever reasons. Hopefully, everything's, water under the bridge and things are cool now and Matt's back on the roster for good. But if that's the case, they really need to give him, the opportunity that he is, deserved, as far as in a lot of fans' minds.
Absolutely. Just one last good run. As far as other storylines going on, I'm really intrigued by Hernandez joining the BDC. Specifically because, for those that don't watch Lucha Underground, Hernandez is I don't know about a big part, but he's definitely a name over there. And what with all the things we've heard about contracts with them, like Lucha Underground and AAA have, I don't know, a lot of control over what those wrestlers can do when they're not doing Lucha Underground. So, there's always the rumors of TNA and AAA having that partnership, which seems to be bearing out. And yeah, it's just really, really interesting, because you don't really see a whole lot of guys being on 2 different TV shows run by 2 different companies at once.
On the same night, mind you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we really haven't seen something like that since Rick Rude, when he left WWE and showed up, the same night as his debut in WCW. So, yeah, it is odd for sure. I'm with you. I also just find it odd that that's the guy that they went with. We still don't really know what's going on with Homicide. If you look at Homicide's Wikipedia page, which I did earlier today, there's like nothing about his last run in TNA. So like, that's usually a pretty good source of, if someone has left the company, or someone is actually injured, that, that information is usually on Wikipedia. It's nowhere to be found right now. So it's kind of odd not being able to know for sure where Homicide is, but to have a former tag team partner of his in Hernandez come through. It's kind of odd. It's kind of odd. So
yeah, it's also weird just given, like, there is that connection with Homicide from the LAX days, but when you think about who's been in the BDC up to this point, MVP, Kenny King, Low Key, guys that, do have that Brooklyn gangster vibe.
Yeah. And
then there's Hernandez who goes by Supermax. It's just a little bit of a disconnect there.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And, my memory is probably bad, but I feel like his last run with the company, he was super over as a face too.
Yeah, he was when he was teaming with Chavo.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's odd. I don't know how it fits, but obviously this is leading to, that upcoming match. I don't know if it's going to be on Slammiversary or not. We're going to be talking about it a little bit later on in the conversation, but there is an upcoming match between the BDC and the Rising, with the losing team having to split up, and bringing in a new guy into the BDC makes that really hard to predict. Did they just bring in a guy only for that group to split up, or, I don't know. It's just kind of odd. And I don't know if we want to get into this at all either, just because I don't know where this fits in the overall, chronological order of the episodes that we see. But we did find out earlier today that Low Key has left the company.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know when that takes place. I do know there was some tapings before Slammiversary, so like earlier this week. Well, no, I guess it was like on Wednesday, because it had to do with the live taping as well. So, are we going to see Low Key on TV, after Slammiversary or not? It's kind of a an unknown at this point.
Yeah, definitely.
So I don't know. I don't think it's a good fit, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Yeah,
and according to Impact's website, that losing team disbands match is going to be next week on Bell to Bell.
Okay, which is that the July 1st show?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. All right. So yeah, I'm with you. As far as the low mid card goes, I'm excited about Matt Morgan. I'm kind of iffy on Hernandez. The EY and Chris Melendez match or feud still isn't doing anything for me, especially because like EY, it just felt like EY was so above and beyond, what Chris Melendez could do in the ring, that it's to me it feels like almost pointless that this feud is happening.
Yeah, I'm getting to that point as well. And it is a shame, because it was such a solid foundation for a feud, but I don't really know if Chris Melendez can really measure up to EY standard,
right,
as a wrestler.
All right, so the knockouts, we got some developments in the title race as well as the Velvet Sky situation. Velvet Sky versus Angelina Love this week. If Velvet won, she is now back as an active member on the roster. That obviously happened. So Velvet Sky is back on the roster. Are you okay with that result and the story overall?
I'm okay with it. Velvet has gone through a little bit of a reinvention with her overall look, her moveset, and I think Bully Ray's had something to do with that. Mm-hmm. I imagine that he and Devon have been training her since she's basically traveling with them whenever they're doing independent shows. So, yeah, I think it's paid off, and I'm hopeful that this is a permanent shift, Not like when she came back the last time in that cat suit. That didn't last long, and I'm glad it didn't.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping for the best here.
Yeah, I forgot about that, but yeah, she had like her own clothing line or something. It was bad. All right, so I have been very critical on Velvet Sky, obviously, but I'm willing to give her another opportunity to see what she can do. I mean, we've seen a lot of, the knockouts look green at times and then improve over time. I think this is a chance for that. I did, for the most part, find what she was doing in the ring this week as better than expected. So yeah, overall, I think I'm okay with it. I just don't know. I don't know where it's leading to. Is this something that they're going to continue for a while? Is this a long feud between her and Angelina Love now that she's, on the roster officially? Or is this leading to Velvet Sky, being pushed back into the main event? Or not main event, I'm sorry. The Knockouts title race. And then where does she really fit in there? Because you've got, like, when you have Kong and you've got Gail Kim and you've got Taryn Terrell, I don't know where Velvet Sky fits in that. Especially because Brooke has improved tenfold, since, 2-3 years ago. And we've got the Dollhouse. We've got Jade and Marty Bell, and I really want to see some good matches from them. So, like, out of the entire roster, I don't know how open, like where that opening is for Velvet without, taking someone off of TV that I am actually interested in.
Yeah, it is kind of hard to call there. The scenarios that I think are most likely is Angelina and Madison will team up against Velvet and somebody will step up beside her. Mm-hmm. Probably Gail Kim at this point. I have no idea whether her hand is better by now or not, but it seems like both Brooke and Kong have the Dollhouse on lockdown right now. So I don't know. Maybe we'll get some Knockouts tag team action there as well. Or Velvet could step up against the Dollhouse and make that a 3-on-3 scenario for a little bit.
Yeah, I could see it. But it does seem like they're going to that well more often than not as far as the knockouts. They have so many knockouts now that, like, the only way to give everyone, enough TV time to make it, acceptable that they're on the roster is by throwing them in a tag team match. Because that's what we've seen pretty much just about every week, like the last month or so. Like, do
you think there's enough justification to bring back the Knockouts tag titles?
Totally.
I wouldn't say no to that either.
Yeah. And this probably would not work, and this probably would never get over with the TNA crowd. But now that we've seen it work in some fashion in Lucha Underground, I would actually be okay with some Knockouts tag teams going into the actual tag team division, knowing that we don't have any tag teams.
Yeah. I could totally see that. Gail Kim and Kong. I don't know, depending on who this vignette is heralding, maybe Kong and the new person. I don't know. There are definitely some knockouts that could hold their own with the guys, though.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if Havoc is the one that returns, Havoc could probably do pretty well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Jade could probably handle herself.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, I don't know. But I think that's an idea worth considering. I mean, yeah, there was some negativity, as far as, against Lucha Underground for having the intergender matches. But overall, I mean, for me as a wrestling fan, it's worked. I really like what Lucha Underground has done with Sexy Star, with Ivelisse, and their work in singles matches and tag team matches against male counterparts have still been entertaining, without, going the cheesy route or anything like that. So.
Yeah, that tide is absolutely shifting in wrestling.
Yeah.
It's all over the place in indies now. Mainstream wrestling is really the only holdout, and I don't see that lasting forever.
And realistically, why not? I mean, you even look at conversations happening with fans of the UFC now that Ronda Rousey has basically destroyed a majority of her opponents. They're running out of, credible challenges for her. So a lot of people are like, well, is she ever going to fight a guy in the UFC? Which, obviously they have come straight out and said that will never happen. But still, I mean, it's a conversation that is taking place. It does seem like there is interest in, credible, women challengers going against male counterparts. And, while the X division could be a good place for this as well, I think the tag team division, just knowing that there honestly are no tag teams outside of the Dirty Heels and the Wolves.
Yeah, the X division especially would be a good place for some of the female athletes, especially like Jade, because it's not about weight limits, it's about no limits, where any sort of style is welcome. So yeah, absolutely, throw a knockout or two in there.
All right, so speaking of the tag team title race, though, we did have some continuation. We had the Dirty Heels versus the Wolves match. I think this was the fourth out of 5 matches.
Mm-hmm.
Stipulation. What was the stipulation again?
Full Metal Mayhem.
Full Metal Mayhem. Okay, so overall, Mayhem. You're right. Overall, it was a quality match. I thought this was probably a match of the night. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think I would. Definitely a very strong contender if it wasn't.
Yeah. Dirty Heels win, so it's evened up. We will have that 5th match, which will take place on July 1st, which is your bell to bell. But at Slammiversary, there will be another match, and I think I wrote it down. Yes, it is Austin Aries versus Davey Richards. The winner will choose the stipulation for that final match. So very similar to how we got Eddie Edwards versus Bobby Roode last week to determine who was going to choose the stipulation for the match that we got this week. So it's going to be very similar to that. So, yeah, that should be good.
For sure.
And in the world title race, last week we had Angle choosing Lashley as EC3's opponent. This week, EC3 chose Matt Hardy to take on Angle. Probably not the pick that anyone would have guessed, right?
Yeah, that came a little bit out of left field for me. I was figuring he'd probably send in Tyrus, and Tyrus would get punked out again. I'd also seen a lot of speculation that it was going to be Bram.
Yeah.
Since there's that tenuous connection there. But, yeah, I think Matt Hardy did okay for himself.
Sure.
It wasn't a bad match.
I just don't look at Matt Hardy as a Lashley level guy, you know?
Yeah, that is a little bit of a step down.
Like, you know, maybe you could throw Magnus in this spot. Magnus is obviously angry, would take out some of his frustrations, on Angle. Like, that would be a good story. Matt Hardy, though, no, I don't see it. Even like Abyss, I think would have been more believable in this spot than Matt Hardy. or Koya, man.
I would kind of love that.
So yeah, I don't know. I didn't really think this was a good choice, and the match was okay. It ended the way, you know, we expected. Angle won. The show ended with Angle basically putting the ankle lock on EC3 as we faded out. But that was pretty much the show. It wasn't a whole lot that went down outside of what we discussed, but overall, what'd you think? What did you think of the go home show for Slammiversary?
It's been the most memorable Impact that we've had probably since the move to Destination America.
Oh shit. Totally forgot about the Jeff Jarrett segment. Like, yeah, like you're saying, the most memorable. You also have the Jeff Jarrett segment. Yeah, dude, I'm with you. I've really had a hard time, honestly, for the last 2-3 months of getting super excited about what's happening on Impact Wrestling. My interest has continued to dwindle. Last week, I felt like, it was at a new low, but this week, I thought was awesome. I thought like pretty much every match was good. Every segment was good. The whole Jeff Jarrett, coming back to get involved in Slammiversary, I thought was great. The segment was kind of awkward and weird, just because it was a lot of GFW is awesome. I really don't like TNA. No one likes TNA, but I'm here.
Yeah,
that's what I got out of it.
That was more drawn out than it should have been, and yeah, it was really heavy with the GFW plugs.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the idea of Jarrett coming back and taking part one last time in a match of his, I don't know about his creation, but like
that's what he says.
His match.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a nice thing to have on your anniversary.
Right.
And I thought that little line that Karen dropped about Sanjay Dutt talking about how he didn't get to go out the way he wanted to. And This is kind of like his chance at redoing that. I thought that was nice.
Yeah. And, again, my memory is not great. I don't store everything like some wrestling fans do, but when Jeff Jarrett left, I don't remember the news coming out that he was fired.
No, they were talking purely in storyline about.
Think?
Yeah, like
okay.
I think they actually said it, like they mentioned the moment on screen where Sting fired them backstage. But
that's okay. All right.
Yeah,
I take that back. That is right. I do remember that part. All right. Well, that makes sense then, because just the way they presented it, along with everything else, it was just kind of odd.
Yeah, it did start to like blend together because it was a lot of emotion, just a lot of Global Force Wrestling, blah blah blah, Global Force Wrestling, blah, blah, Global Force Wrestling, and so on and so forth. But
it makes us cry to be here.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, let's before we talk about Slammiversary, let's get in the win fail. What was your win of the week?
My win of the week, I'm gonna give it to Velvet Sky and her apparent reinvention. We'll see after a few weeks whether or not it holds, but I'm optimistic about it. She looked better than she had for the last several months prior to leaving after Feast and Fired. So, yeah, again, I'm optimistic.
Yeah. My win of the week is just the show overall. This show just, to me, it just felt good. It felt refreshing almost. You have commentary at ringside. You've got the returns of Matt Morgan and Hernandez. You've got the Jeff Jarrett and Vader inclusion. It just felt different. It felt like a really good go home show. And that's something that we didn't always, well, really, we barely ever get. The go home show is usually bland and boring when it comes to like a WWE go home show. TNA seemed to always fall into that category as well, as far as just not building up the pay-per-view with that like fireworks type show. And I thought this was it. I thought this was a good show.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with you. It wasn't, as far as specific build up to Slammiversary, I don't know if this was possibly the best they could have done, but considering that there are no title matches on this card, and it really is just a commemoration of everything that TNA's done, everything's made it great. This show really did a lot to give you that feeling that, yeah, okay, there's some energy going into this. Yeah, I could dig it. So yeah, I'm completely with you. It was a good go home show.
Quick correction. We are getting a title match at Slammiversary because that is the entire point of King of the Mountain. There is a title on the line. We just don't know what it is yet.
Oh. Okay.
As we're recording this, actually TNA is announcing the opponents that Jeff Jarrett is going to face.
Yeah.
So hopefully by the time we get to this point, we'll know. But yeah. There
is no guarantee that there is a title on the line because Jeff Jarrett's wrestling, and it's kind of hard to imagine that he doesn't win this.
Yeah.
So if there's a title on the line, what does he walk out with?
Sure. But I got an idea for you, but we'll save it for that conversation.
Okay.
My fail is going to go to... Oh, did we do fails? Did you do fail?
No.
What's your fail?
My fail, I'm going to give it to Vader. This felt... As much as I enjoyed the feeling of energy that went into this, like Matt Morgan came back, Hernandez is back, Jeff Jarrett came back, Vader felt like... I don't know. Attention grab seems weird to say because Vader hasn't been involved with wrestling much in like the last 10 years.
And he's like 60.
Yeah, he's 60 years old. His last match took place in 2012. Yeah. Like there was that when Heath Slater was jobbing to all the old timers and Vader came back for that. And a little bit after that, he did a tribute show for All Japan.
Right.
And for the last 3 years, he hasn't even stepped foot in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that showed. I don't think he looked good. I think he looked every bit of 60 years old.
Yeah, it is weird that, just looking back at how this all came about, Vader has been really vocal as of late as far as like his workout sessions, posting pictures on Instagram of like, how in shape he is, even though he is like whatever it is, like 60, 63 or something like that. So I think it was rather interesting that he did return to TNA, during that time period. To me, I didn't think he looked too bad. I think he looked a lot better this match than he did his last match in WWE. And his last match in WWE he was just way overweight. I remember the scene of him like falling on the outside, like just not able to even hold his own weight up. It was bad. But yeah, this I thought it was okay. And the other thing that I noticed, Bram just looked like legit excited that he was in the ring with Vader.
Yeah, I did notice that. And I think that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I think that match embodied what every commentator says about ring rust. It's sure. No matter how much cardio you do outside the ring, no matter how in shape you are, it doesn't really count unless you step inside those ropes because it's just a whole nother world in there.
Yeah. All right. My fail is going to go to the fact that EC3 tapped out at the end of the night. When your entire story, your entire build for EC3 versus Angle is the unbeaten streak, and then you basically have the guy give up on the go home show, the last scene, that hurts EC3. That hurts EC3's credibility. That that's your last memory of him before his big match against Angle.
Yeah, I get that. I'm going to do a little bit of Josh Matthews defensive EC3 no matter the cost bit here, but you can say, yeah, he tapped out, and that's the last thing we saw, but like he tapped out immediately as soon as that ankle lock was locked in, so I imagine it as just him saving himself and trying to trick Angle into letting it go, because Angle did do that in a no disqualification match against EY. Like, EY tapped out with the ankle lock. Hey, let's go. It's like, yes, I win. It's like, shit.
Yeah.
I did like the defense he made on Twitter where EC3 said that was not a tap out. It was not a match, so I could not tap out. When we get in the ring, I will show you that I do not tap out.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't like that heels are, at least in TNA, seem to always, well, really in all of wrestling, it's you always like fall back on like the Weasley side of the heel face relationship, and I don't want to see that. I want to see someone stand out from that, but that seems to always be the direction that they put EC3 in. And yeah, I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, I think it's got something to do with the prevailing attitude where
Sure.
if you've got a strong heel, people are going to cheer for him just because they're smarks or they like the guy. It's just, I'm completely with you. I do wish we go back to when you'd have the monster heel that is just indomitable, or like a Kevin Owens style heel, or like EC3 in his less Weasley moments. Yeah, I completely agree with you. I wish we could see that again. Like, smart don't be damned.
All right, well, with that, let's go into Slammiversary. Slammiversary takes place on this Sunday. Overall, I think going into this, we weren't necessarily excited. The internet wasn't very excited, because you're missing two major elements to this pay-per-view. One is you don't have your world title shot on the line. And then you don't have any title on the line. So, EC3, well, except for the King of the Mountain match, potentially. But, you had, basically EC3 versus Angle. That was the match that we were all pretty much excited about, but that's not happening at Slammiversary. Instead, that's happening on the June 1st edition of Impact Wrestling for whatever reason, but still, that's what we've got going on. So, run down the card. We'll go through predictions. I think this might be, and I could be wrong. I've got to be wrong, but I think this is our first prediction show on Fans Talk TNA. I could be wrong. There might have been an early one there at the end of last year, but something tells me no.
I don't think we did Bound for Glory, so I think you're right.
Yeah, this might be the first prediction show that we do on Fans Talk TNA. So, put it in the record books. All right, here we go. Here's your card as it stands right now. We've got Jesse Goddard versus Robbie E. The Dollhouse versus Brooke and Kong in a handicap tag match. Lashley and Mr. Anderson versus EC3 and Tyrus. Matt Morgan versus Bram. Austin Aries versus Davey Richards. The winner chooses the stipulation for the final match of the Best of 5 series. Again, no world title match, no knockouts title match, but we do have the King of the Mountain match right now as it stands. Jeff Jarrett versus Matt Hardy versus Eric Young versus Drew Galloway, and potentially we'll have that last name by the time we get to this. TNA is releasing every name, or one name every half an hour. So, why they need to drag this out, I don't know. But they are, because it's totally throwing our schedule off. But, hopefully we got it. So anyways, let's start from the top. Jesse versus Robbie E. Nick, who you got?
I'm going to go with Robbie E. It feels like this feud has gone on for a little while. And yeah, I think Robbie is going to get sort of his retribution here. He hasn't really had a good chance to get back at Jesse. He only came back, not this past week, but the week before. So I figure that we're going to see a little bit of redemption for Robbie. And I also think we're going to see some new stuff out of both these guys.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird where we are right now, because if you asked me this 2 weeks ago, I would have been totally behind the idea of Robbie E. Getting the win. But because of how awesome Jesse has looked in singles competition, I want to see Jesse continue to progress. I want to see him get one over on Robbie E, because if you look at how this feud has gone along, Jesse has always looked like the joke of the team. As far as since they've broken up, Robbie E basically made Jesse look like the fool. This last week, Jesse taking out DJ Zema Ion, he looked awesome. He looked awesome in that, and I want to see him continue to look awesome. So for me, while I do still have hope that we'll get Robbie E in the main title scene at some point, I gotta give it to Jesse. All right, after that, we've got the Dollhouse versus Brooke and Kong. This is a handicap tag match. Dollhouse, obviously, they have got 3 members versus Brooke and Kong. Who you got, Nick?
I think the Dollhouse is going to walk away with a win here. Get the numbers game going, possibly isolate Brooke from Kong, and I don't know, maybe injure her to some degree. Make it less likely that she'll be able to fully participate in the title match. Like, not to the point where she literally cannot wrestle in that match, but just so that, I don't know, if she's wrestling with like a rib injury or something obvious that the Dollhouse can pick apart. So I think we're going to get a little bit of momentum for them, just because the momentum really has been on Kong and Brooke's side, specifically Brooke's, up to this point.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Dollhouse as well. I think you've got to make, like, I don't know. Jade and Marty Bell, I think, have shown signs of greatness. They've shown signs that they can really do some good stuff, but they need that opportunity for redemption after this last week's debacle, where basically they were the cause of Taryn Terrell having to fight on July 1st in a triple threat match. So I think they need to get that redemption against Brooke and Kong. And Brooke and Kong, they really don't need the win here. I think the Dollhouse needed a little bit more, so that's where I'm going to go. Lashley and Mr. Anderson versus EC3 and Tyrus. This feels like a random match. I know Anderson had that story with EC3 a few weeks back, but I thought we had moved on. I had moved on personally, and I was really hoping that TNA had moved on. Obviously not. First, Nick, do you like this match? And what's your pick?
I'm kind of ambivalent about this match. It does make sense. Lashley wanting to get some payback for really Tyrus screwing him out of the win over EC3, and yeah, if Lashley's going to get a partner to level the playing field, I imagine Anderson standing on this chair, raising his hand, and ooh, pick me. So it does make sense. I kind of wish that, I don't know what I would have wished in place of this. Maybe one of those guys rounding out things in the King of the Mountain match. I don't know. But I figure we're going to see Lashley and Anderson get the nod here. EC3 will not take the pin or submission. It'll be Tyrus getting punked out again.
Right.
But yeah, if you're going to have this match, I think that's the only way to go forward.
Yeah, agreed. I'm not even lukewarm on this match. I don't really care about it. And you're right. It's going to be the obvious. Tyrus looks like a fool once again. And it's a shame that they keep going to that well, but it's whatever. That's fitting.
I'm hoping that we at least get some power Haas versus Haas moments from Tyrus versus Lashley.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. I hope we're proven wrong, and we do get to see Tyrus looking like the beast that he can be, especially against a guy like Lashley. I think those two in the ring together would be a great visual. But we'll see. We'll see what they actually allow Tyrus to do.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Morgan versus Bram.
I think this will be an interesting bout. I figure that Bram's big enough that Matt Morgan's size isn't as much of an advantage as it usually would be. And I think the no disqualification nature of the match is what's going to give Bram the edge he needs to win. And possibly the impetus for Matt Morgan to stick around and make this a continuing feud.
Yeah. I really hope that Matt Morgan does stick around. He's got to, man. This,
yeah.
Like, we finally get him back, and I've been salivating for this. I cannot wait. I want to see what Matt Morgan can do. He doesn't look like he's lost anything, as far as the look, as far as, just his overall build. It looks like the same Matt Morgan that left the company about a year and a half ago, or however long it's been. So yeah, I have such high hopes, and I hope this is his big return. But I'm with you as far as the result. I'm with you that I see Bram winning. For them to build up this feud, he needs some. I'm sorry, not feud, but just the overall story. You need some more credible talent in there, and him to get a win over Matt Morgan, I think would tell a great story for what he's trying to do. But hopefully, yeah, it does lead to more Bram versus Matt Morgan matches in the future. All right, Austin Aries versus Davey Richards. Once again, the winner chooses the stipulation of the final best-of-5 series match. Last time around, when we had the stipulation, Eddie Edwards defeated Bobby Roode and was able to choose Full Metal Mayhem. So let's do this. Let's predict winner and predict stipulation.
I think the Dirty Heels are going to get the stipulation pick. I think they're going to want to give everybody that extra little bit of doubt that the Wolves might not become champs again. Because that's where I see this whole best-of-5 series going. Same way as the Team 3D and Hardy's round robin deal. It's to give the Wolves that rub. As far as stipulations go, I still like the idea of them doing an Ultimate X match. Both Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards are strong X Division contenders. Aries, obviously, X Division champ. And Roode is... It doesn't seem like he's too big to make that climb on the cable.
Right.
Like, if nothing else, you can have that chicken fight scenario where Roode carries Aries on his shoulders to try and bring down the titles.
Yeah, I guess I'm okay with that. I'm gonna go with Aries winning as well. But to me, if they have the choice of choosing a match, just going by the story that we've gotten, it seems more along the lines that they would choose something that benefits them the most. And what benefits them the most, honestly, is like a simple no DQ match.
Yeah.
Like maybe just a straight up no disqualification or a falls count anywhere. maybe a last man standing, but definitely no disqualification. I think it's got to include that. So yeah, I'm going to go with Aries, and yeah, I feel like just a straight up no disqualification match would fit them better. Not this big, huge match that the fans are going to get involved in. That's more of a face thing, trying to up the game, up the ante. But a heel, especially a dirty heel, is going to want to just put themselves in the best position to win. So yeah, that's my pick.
I do want to float something that Joe brought up on the main show.
Sure.
He floated the idea of an Iron Man match. And I don't know how serious he was about it, because it seemed like it was just in passing. But when you think about what Aries and Rude were saying, like in that pre-match segment where they talked about, I don't know, when I went to train in that gym in Minnesota, I didn't learn anything about chairs or tables in the wrestling syllabus. Did you learn about that in Canada? No, I learned how to wrestle, and we want to wrestle, not do all this nonsense, extra stuff. And I don't know if that was just a one-off or something that they're going to continue to go with, but an Iron Man match, that would kind of lend itself toward Aries and especially Rude, who has done them in TNA before. So, do you think that would be possible?
Totally. I love that idea. That's an awesome idea. I think that would also fit, just exactly what you said as far as, their current characters, their current stories. So, that sounds awesome. And if you look at the card that we have right now, we only have 5 matches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I'm sorry. We have 6 matches. So you figure if this is a standard 3-hour pay-per-view, you can probably fit, Jesse versus Robbie, the Dollhouse, versus Brooke and Kong, Lashley and Anderson versus EC3 and Tyrus in your first hour.
Mm-hmm.
Your second hour can be, Matt Morgan versus Bram for like 10 minutes. And then the start of the Iron Man match. And then you've got still 40 minutes left for the King of the Mountain match.
Yeah, I could totally see an Iron Man match kicking off the second hour.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's a great idea. And it would give them the opportunity to, have something much, much larger in there that would, that way, while some of this does feel like filler, they don't actually have to add additional filler to fill up the card. I think you could have a 5-match pay-per-view. Or, I'm sorry, a 6-match pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, cool. So before we talk about the King of the Mountain, let's talk about just overall criticisms for Slammiversary. Let's talk about our feelings about Slammiversary, when and how we're going to watch. So the weirdest last couple of weeks, for sure, when it comes to TNA, being a TNA fan. Obviously everyone's aware that the Talk TNA podcast, kind of went away. They stopped doing their show just because they weren't liking what TNA was doing. They're still having a blog, but that blog now is still, I wouldn't necessarily say it's negative because it's just reporting like what David is hearing, but it's still negative when it comes to, positive wrestling fans, what they feel is, should or is actually happening, So you've got that. You've got all of this negativity in general for TNA as it's been for the longest time. You've got guys like Chris Regal from TNAMecca.com going out publicly and saying that, he's not even sure if he wants to watch Slammiversary because there is no title matches. It doesn't feel like a pay-per-view. I haven't followed his reaction after this week's Impact, but I'm sure it's the same. So when you have guys like David and Claudia, that, have a TNA podcast showing absolutely no interest in watching this. When you have one of the most positive, like outlandishly positive websites about TNA and being so pro TNA coming out and saying that they don't even know if they're going to be watching Slammiversary. Do you feel like that attitude? Like, are you in that group? Do you feel like you don't have that interest in watching Slammiversary?
2 weeks ago, or maybe even a week ago, I might have been in that camp. I still maintain some confidence that, that they'd pack the show with something to get attention. And as it came closer and closer and it became clearer and clearer that no title matches are being booked for this card, I don't know. I still maintain a little bit of optimism. And I think for me that's paid off since they started announcing more matches since Impact. And I don't know. I am looking forward to this pay-per-view now. I will be watching it this Sunday. I think I'll just leave it at that. I will be watching.
I will be watching as well. I don't know if I'll watch it live. Just because I've gotten to the point where I don't watch much TV live anymore, except for, maybe your Browns games or, Cavaliers playoff games.
Yeah, I'm right there with you most of the time.
But generally, like, regular TV, I'll watch like next day or, whenever it's convenient. So I might watch live, but we'll see. But overall, my major issue with this is But my major issue with this is that it is obvious that TNA is putting more effort into booking the July 1st episode of Impact Wrestling than they are Slammiversary. The card on Slammiversary, yeah, it's okay. Especially if they do put that Iron Man match on there. That's well worth the time spent watching a pay-per-view for it, But
we should clarify, we kind of got ahead of ourselves with that Iron Man talk because that match 5 will be on the July 1st show, not the pay-per-view.
Damn it.
Yeah, it's just yeah, it's just
That's right.
Davey
Yeah.
Richards.
No,
versus,
I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ixnay everything that we just rambled on about.
It's going to be an amazing match if it happens, but it's going to be happening on Bell to Bell.
Anyways, that would have made Slammiversary watchable, for sure. But that's awesome. Well, okay, if it's Bell to Bell, then no, it can't be an Iron Man match.
Yeah, not with all the title matches that are taking place there.
Now that we're back in reality and not our fantasy booking mind. So, okay, cool. To me, Slammiversary, it's got a decent card. I'm okay with it. Again, I'm excited about Matt Morgan. I'm excited about what they're doing with Jesse and Robbie E. I think the Austin Aries versus Davey Richards match is going to be good. I'm kind of excited about the King of the Mountain because, honestly, as a TNA fan, it's been 6 years. I think this was the last time that they had this match was before I started watching. So this is actually, again, my memory is bad, but I don't think I've ever seen this match. And the fact that they've got Jeff Jarrett to come back for it, I think that says a lot. So I don't know, but to me, it's not worth $50. And that's what they're charging for the pay-per-view.
I thought it was 40.
Everything that I have read, depending on which carrier you go through, is about 50. If you go through the Flips app, I believe it's like 50-51.
Okay, it must be a carrier specific thing because I was seeing Paul Jordan's post about how he's not going to pay $40 odd bucks for it. So,
yeah. So, oh man, yeah, I don't know. To me, again, I'm okay with the card, but I think we're getting the wrong Slammiversary card. Slammiversary should be what we're getting on July 1st, and what we're getting on July 1st should be the Slammiversary card. I feel.
I definitely get that. Yeah, I just have to wonder if this is just a major shift in how TNA is viewing its pay-per-views, because like when they were doing regular pay-per-views, one every month or even one every few months, they still stuck with the themes.
Yeah.
And Slammiversary is a celebration of TNA's birth as a company. And when you look at it like that, yeah, this card makes a lot more sense than what we're getting on Bell to Bell. There is so much nostalgia factor there. Return of the King of the Mountain, both in match form and in man form. We're getting Matt Morgan back. We have been getting those blasts from the past back. So when viewed in that lens, I get what TNA is doing to an extent, but for so many people where they view the pay-per-views as this is where feuds end, this is where titles change hands, and we know titles aren't going to be changing hands unless they make one up for the King of the Mountain match.
Yeah.
And we may get feud enders here. The bromance deal might end here, but we don't know.
Yeah.
Nothing's being booked that way except possibly Storm versus Magnus.
Yeah.
So yeah, I completely get where that frustration is coming from.
So, and you did talk, you did just say, what title is going to be in that King of the Mountain match. I did have a theory, and it made perfect sense to me, and I was really excited about the idea, but now that we know who the competitors are, that doesn't make sense for my theory anymore, so. So that little tease was for nothing. Sorry, guys. All right, so let's go ahead and predict the King of the Mountain match. We've got the return of Jeff Jarrett versus Matt Hardy versus Eric Young versus Drew Galloway versus Bobby Roode. Who is the King of the Mountain at the end of Slammiversary?
I figure that this is going to be Jarrett's moment to walk out on top. I think he walks away as the now and forever King of the Mountain.
That seems like the very obvious choice. I'm generally with you. I think, just looking at that segment that we got this week, the tear-filled segment, the push that he wanted to go out on his terms and his way. To me, it makes sense, and I'm with you. But when you look at, the rest of the lineup, you've got Matt Hardy, you've got Eric Young, you got Drew Galloway, you got Bobby Roode. To me, I feel like you almost have to pass that torch. Just look at Jeff Jarrett and what Jeff Jarrett has been about since he left TNA, since he started GFW. It's about finding the future. It's about, the future of the wrestling business. He doesn't wrestle in GFW. It's about the guys that he's trying to push. And it really feels like he would carry that mentality into this match. Because of that, I'm going to give it to Drew Galloway. I think Drew Galloway walks away with the King of the Mountain. And as, a potential future title holder in TNA. And right now we don't know what title is going to be in line. Like, are they going to bring back the TV title? Are they going to bring back, are they going to bring in an internet championship? We've been talking about that forever.
Or maybe do they just turn this into like a King of the Ring kind of thing, and you're known as King of the Mountain?
Yeah, you've got that thing too. Also, you could, while it does feel a bit overkill, especially because we just had Destination X and we just had the cash in of a briefcase. Maybe you have a briefcase up there as well. I mean, because you've got to hang something up. That's the premise of the match. So,
yeah.
But it's just a matter of like, what is that? So, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, your talk about Jarrett wanting to push younger guys, it makes me think about the rumors that have been spreading about, like, Slammiversary is when they announce their next Hall of Fame inductee, and with Jarrett coming back, that puts him at the top of the list, in my opinion, of who's getting inducted. And to this day, I don't think we've had an inductee win their match when they're going in.
Yeah.
So, actually, I am going to change my pick. I'm going to guess that Drew Galloway is going to win.
Damn it, Nick. We have chosen the same thing every single match except for Robbie versus Jesse. That's going to be our tiebreaker.
Yeah. Bros turn foes.
All right. Yeah, no, that's a good stat to hang your hat on. Yeah, I don't know. That is an interesting idea as far as Hall of Fame induction. That's something that hasn't really been talked about at all. Maybe they do it. Maybe they do spring that on them. Obviously it deserved. If you look at TNA, their history, who set them up, you need to, praise Jeff Jarrett in some fashion. I think that would be a good way to do it. I think I would rather see that than have him win this match, especially over guys like an EY, a Rude, and Drew Galloway.
Yeah, I agree.
So, all right, cool. Well, those are our predictions. Again, just to read down, we have mixed opinions on Jesse versus Robbie E, but otherwise, the Dollhouse defeats Brooke versus Kong. Lashley and Anderson defeat EC3 and Tyrus. Most likely, Tyrus is the one that gets pinned. Bram defeats Matt Morgan. Austin Aries defeats Davey Richards. And the King of the Mountain will be Drew Galloway. So those are our picks. Let us know what your picks are in the comments. Again, you can leave those comments over on our YouTube channel. And really, I think we can close out here. fanstalktna.com. Definitely go there, get the links to all of our different things that we're involved in. But if you want to continue the conversation, the best place to go, surprisingly, because this is like the opposite of what it was about 2 years ago, but it's YouTube. Go to YouTube. There's some great conversations going on over there, as well as on all of the other videos that the Fans Talk podcast, family of podcasts are doing, including Fans Talk Lucha, Fans Talk Pro Wrestling. Awesome conversations happening over there. So join them. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and Instagram. All of those links are available on fanstalktna.com. We'll see you guys next week.